So Bitcoin did drop below our 93K. So we're going to take a look at that on the charts and just take a look at where Mr. and MSTY sets. And since I did buy into HOOY last week, I actually ended up buying a few more shares today as well. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Mr. and MSTY, and then we're going to also take a look at why I bought some more HOOY and what am I using to determine when to buy into HOOY. So before we get into that, if you don't mind, hit that like button, be much appreciated. So let's just go ahead and jump right on into the charts and let's take a look at Bitcoin. All right, so here we are on Bitcoin, and ouch, right? We did end up breaking down a little bit below that 93K. Now, it is not a confirmed breakdown, but we have pierced that 93K. And I've had that line on there for a while, and you can see we were trying to respect it, but today we actually have pierced it and are currently under the 93K. Now the day's not over, so hopefully it can close up above it, but if not, then we'll see what tomorrow brings, if it comes on down further, or can we move it back up. But right now it is running through that 93K, so it's not yet confirmed as a breakdown, but it's definitely not a good sign because as you can see, we do have a bit of a trend here of a downward movement on Bitcoin. And as far as that 93K, where I'm getting that from and what I'm using is right over here. If I slide the chart over, you can see that this is roughly where it was bouncing off of, right? It was coming down to around that 93K area and bouncing up off of it until we broke down. And once we broke under it, then it became a resistance line, right? And we were hitting it and then coming down, and then we hit it until we broke past that and then bounced off of it right here. So you can see it is what we were using for a good support line. And it has been above it for quite some time, but here lately we have been coming down in Bitcoin. We did end up breaking that 100K mark. So that was the first red flag, and now we've pierced the 93K. So as far as where the next support line is, I would say it would be right at the top of these candles right here. So if I hover over that, you can see right over here, that is about roughly, say 88.5K. So that is potentially our next support line. So if Bitcoin does not turn around and get back above this support line, then this will then become a resistance line, and then we'll be looking to come on down to about 88.5. And I can go ahead and draw that line in here, and we'll draw it in to about the top of that candle right there, and we'll do it around that 88.8. So let's go ahead and just draw a little horizontal line here, and we'll just drop it in right there. So if we do end up opening under this line, and then tomorrow we end up closing under this line, then that is what we're going to call a confirmed breakdown below that 93K. And then the question is are we going to come down to that 88K, or are we going to break on past it as well? Because if we do break below that, then we're talking about down here to about 81 and then on down to the high 70s, right? Now, can it get down that low? Well, for sure it can, right? Bitcoin has just been in a rough patch here lately, right? We hit the all-time high and we have been coming down ever since. Now, with Bitcoin coming on down like that, what does that do for Mr. and MSTY? So if we look at Mr. right here, we had that line at about 235. Well, we just broke through that, right? We have actually come down as low as 189.53, and we closed today at around 195.42. And if we zoom back on this, I had that line right there because that was going to be our support line. As you can see, it was being respected over here. We had a couple bounces off of that, and I wanted to hopefully keep it above that. But with Bitcoin coming on down, Mr. has no choice, right? If Bitcoin's going to pull it down, it's going to come on down. Now, I would say the next support line that we have would be somewhere around the top of these candles, right? Somewhere along here. And that's about right where we're at. So if I draw that line and say about to the top of these candles, and we're looking at around that 181 area, okay? I don't have it down to the dollar, definitely not down to the penny, right? I'm just throwing a line at roughly where those support and resistance lines would be, because as you can see, those candles were coming up, hitting it. It did break past it, but then came back down, right? It got rejected. A false breakout right here, and that's what that is. And then it came up and it was getting close to it, trying to test that line, testing that line, coming over here, test that line, and then finally it broke past it, right? And then it was off to the races. And at that point, it made that support line up here. But we have since broke that support line. We are at a confirmed breakdown below that 235. Now, could it be a false breakout? Sure. But with Bitcoin coming on down, Mr. is going to continue to move down until Bitcoin can level off and then get to moving back up. Like I said on Mr., our next support line is roughly that 181. But honestly, it all has to do with Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin is going to continue to move down, then Mr. is not going to respect any kind of support lines or anything like that, because it is heavily invested into Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin is going to do, Mr. is going to do the same thing for the most part. And if Bitcoin is going to continue to fall, I hate to say it, we're going to see Mr. coming on down. Now, nobody wants to see that. I definitely don't want to see it, but it does happen. But of course, what does that do to MSTY? Well, if we look at MSTY right here, you can see we have been just coming on down. And I love the comments of people just talking about MSTY like it's coming down, it's trash, right? But it's using Mr. as the underlying. So if Mr. is going to move down, so is MSTY. But at the top of all of that, if Bitcoin is going to move down, so is Mr. Mr. moves down, so will MSTY. Okay? And that's just how it kind of works. MSTY's using Mr. for the covered calls. So if Mr. is going to continue to move down, then the price is going to continue to come on down on MSTY. I hate to see it, but we definitely need Bitcoin to level off, trade sideways, and then not shoot up. Because if Bitcoin here does a quick recovery and we get some kind of big candle right here, something like this right here, and you get this big candle and it comes all the way back up here, busts through the 100 and gets back to 105. If it does a candle like this, that's about roughly 11% move right there. Well, with that 11% move, Mr. is very likely to be able to also move that 11% up for the most part. But the problem is, for MSTY, it is not going to jump up 11%, right? It's going to jump up maybe 2.5, 2.7, 2.9, something like that. Because of those covered calls, it is capped on that upside. So once it reaches that max, really it just stops in a way. It's not going to gain any extra money. It's just going to get to a certain point and just stall because it cannot go any further. Whereas Mr. and Bitcoin continue to move on up. And by doing that, what could happen with MSTY is, like I said, it'll move up that 2% or something like that. So it may move up to about right up in here, say about $8.50 or something like that, but nothing compared to what Mr. and Bitcoin can do. But then the downside would be, after this big jump up, what usually happens when you have a big, huge move up? Well, it cools off, right? So that same candle shot way up there, and then you have a little bit of a pullback, and that pullback will be a red candle coming down. And we'll say that that pullback is roughly about a 4% pullback, okay? About half of that huge candle. Well, that 4% pullback, what do you think MSTR's going to do? Well, it'll pull back, and it might pull back that 4%. But whatever it is, MSTY will also do that same pullback. Even though you jumped up 2.5%, but when you pull back 3%, you're even at a lower price than you were just the candle before. And it doesn't take just 3% to recover that. It will take more than that, because 3% of a lower price does not get you back to your 3% drop. So that's why we don't necessarily want a huge green candle going up on Bitcoin. We would much rather have Bitcoin move up in small increments like this, and then just stair step it right on up. Take a few weeks to do that. That would be awesome. Because what is that going to do for us? That will help MSTY be able to capture a lot of that move up. It still won't capture all of it, but it has a better chance of being able to capture more of that move up, which will help that price, in hopes that we can get back up to, say, $10 or something like that. But in the end, we still need Bitcoin to level off and start moving up, but just don't move up too fast, right? Take your time, Bitcoin. Take your time moving back up. One other move that I did do today is I did buy some HOOY. Now, I had bought into HOOY last week, and I had a total of 35 shares. Well, I bought 10 more shares today, and I got those shares at $52.99 per share. I put a buy order in at $52.99. It did drop down to that, as you can see right here in this candle. It went as low as $52.30. And why did I pick $52.99? Well, I saw that on Friday, this candle right here, it got as low as $52.64. Now, I wasn't sure if it was going to get back down to that. So what I did is I just put an order in at $52.99 and thought, well, if it gets down close to that, even if it goes past a little bit, that's a pretty good buy for me. That will help to average my shares down. Because as you can see here on my stock tracker sheet, and this is my Rev3 stock tracker sheet that we did update this past weekend. And as you can see, there's my 35 shares of HOOY, and I have not entered in those 10 shares yet. And as you can see, my real price per share being 56.07, it is red. And why is it red? Because the market price, which is this orange cell right here, that's the market price, is 53.88. So since it is under my real price per share, I can purchase to help lower it. And of course, the lower the purchase price I can get, the more it's going to help lower my real price per share. So at a purchase of $52.99, that's going to help bring this number down even further. So I was pretty happy with that buy. And as you can see, it actually ended up moving back up to 53.88. So as you can see on my stock tracker sheet, and this is the summary page, right? Now there's some blank ones in here, and if you missed yesterday's video, that will explain why those are blank, because there were a few in here that I ended up selling the week before. So that removed those from my summary page, and I still have all of these here that I still own. If it is red, it means that if I buy, it will help to lower my real price per share. It does not mean I should buy, but it tells you to take a look and you decide whether or not that's a good buy price to help lower your real price per share. So I bought 10 more shares at that $52.99, and that's going to help lower that real price per share for HOOY. And I'll be able to update that this weekend, and then we'll be able to see what that new price per share will be. And just for fun, if you want, I'll go ahead and enter that right into my stock tracker sheet. And this is the individual sheet, right? Just to see what that real price per share will change to. And as you can see, all that information that you saw in the summary page is being pulled from the individual sheets themselves. All of that information is here. It's just nice that it's all available on one simple sheet, and that's the only sheet you've got to look at while you're in the market to know which ones to focus on. So just to see what that's going to be, and I won't keep it because I'm not going to update it at the moment, but if I enter that 52.99 here for that buy price, and I got 10 shares at that price, that's going to up my share count to that 45. And what does it do to my real price per share? Well, it goes from 56.07 down to 55.39. And that is the power of knowing what that real price per share is. Because knowing that will help to know when to buy and when not to buy. Now, of course, this real price per share and the purchased share price average over here is the same currently. And that's only because I have not earned a distribution yet. Because I bought them on the 13th and that X date was the 13th. So I could not count for any of those shares. But for this week, I will be able to count those shares. So far, I'll be able to count 45 shares. Unless I end up making another purchase before the X date. So if I wanted to put a buy order in, I would definitely want to make sure it's under 55.39. Okay, so that's basically how that works. So like I said, I just put that price close to the bottom of this candle. And also, if you look on the RSI2, which is this yellow line, that RSI2, where is it setting? And you can see the number right over here, okay? When I hover over the end of that line, it says 4.31, all right? And that's at a close of 53.88. But I bought my shares at 52.99, so it was even lower than that when I bought it. And what I'm always looking for is for that RSI2 to be under 10. And of course, I would like for that candle to be on the bottom half of the Bollinger Band and preferably at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. And to see what that would be, I can turn off my moving averages just to clean it up and turn on the Bollinger Band. And there you go. See, all the way out to the bottom of that Bollinger Band. It's actually widening out because we are coming down a bit on HOOY. But this is the time that I was looking for a purchase, right? And that's why I did end up purchasing. Because it did drop below that 10 on the RSI2, and it was at the bottom of that Bollinger Band. So that's the signals that I was looking for to take a look to buy into HOOY. And once it hit that, I went ahead and jumped in for my first purchase last week. So hopefully we get a pretty good distribution this week on HOOY. But since it's my first, any distribution is a good distribution. But again, if you are interested in getting a copy of my spreadsheet, and this is the Rev 3 spreadsheet, okay? So this is the newly updated spreadsheet. Then if you join my Discord, you'll be able to get a copy of this sheet where you'll be able to enter in your own positions into each of the stock tracker individual sheets here. And then that will populate the summary page here so that it shows where you are currently in your positions to know what your real price per share is and whether or not it's a good time to buy. So my Discord link will be in the description and in the pinned comments of this video. And I want to thank everybody who has already joined, as it is growing. Now also remember, not only do you get the copy of the spreadsheet, but you also will know when I am buying into these high yield ETFs. I'll send out my receipts for that, along with any option trades, swing trades, or day trades that I'm doing throughout the day and week. I try to post those up as soon as I put it in, just so that you are aware of what I'm doing. I'm not recommend you follow me, but it is a way so that I can be more transparent into how I'm playing these high yield ETFs along with the other stocks that I am in. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.